So I was considering preaching on the Old Testament reading on the wisdom of Solomon, but I thought people may get confused as to who I was talking about, so decided maybe not. Did you know that the nutritional requirements for healthy eating recommends that we eat 6 to 8 small meals a day? It says that we should be eating approximately every 4 hours. It doesn't have to be a big thing. In fact, you probably shouldn't be eating a big thing every 4 hours. But rather, a small, healthy snack will give you the needed nutrients that your body is hungering for. Now, on top of that, it's recommended that we drink roughly 9 to 13 cups of clear fluid a day. So it has to be juice or water or something like that. So really, you need to have a cup of water every hour that you're awake, let's say. So continuing on today, this is how this plays out for all of us here today. Continuing today, you should have a snack after church. We've provided for that downstairs, so very good. You're going to have lunch at about noon, a snack at 2, dinner at about 6 o'clock, and a snack again at 8 o'clock. That's what you should be. That's how your eating will work. For fluids, you should probably drink a cup of water at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and again at 8 o'clock. Now, I did check. Sadly, coffee and tea does not count. And in fact, for every cup of coffee or tea that you drink, you need to add a cup of water. So for me, I really should not be without a cup of water in my hand at all times. That's generally. Here's the most interesting thing about all this. If you do all of these things to the letter, tomorrow you're going to be hungry again. And you're going to be thirsty again. That's just kind of part of life as we deal with it. Our gospel reading today is a continuation of the people finding Jesus after the feeding of the 5,000. And they find him because they're physically hungry. They've seen Jesus do a huge miracle by which he provided lunch for them, and they're hungry again, and so they go to find him. Make me brunch, Jesus. That's kind of what's going on. Yet instead of dealing with the physical hunger, as it pertains to the physical life, Jesus points to the spiritual hunger that's really implicit in us all, and how his flesh and his blood provide the true, the real, and the everlasting nourishment that we all crave. If you want to follow along, you can pick up those pew Bibles in front of you and turn to the Gospel of John. The Gospel of John, it's in the New Testament, so the second half of your Bible, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and then you will find John. And this reading, it's really quite interesting because of the vivid imagery and the language that Jesus uses. Now, previously, Jesus has talked about himself using the language of bread. And in verse 51, he says that, I am the living bread that comes down from heaven. He takes the symbol of manna, which if you remember the Israelites going through the Exodus, going through the wilderness, God provided bread from heaven, manna. That's how they understood it. And so Jesus takes that image and applies it to himself. Those who come to him, those who believe in him, will never have spiritual hunger. Now, Jesus really extends that image. If you look at verse 53, Jesus says, in 51 he says, the bread is my flesh that I give for the life of the world. In 53, Jesus says, I tell you the truth. Unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man, unless you drink his blood, you have no life in you. Now that language was stark, it was vivid, and the Jewish people, under the Levitical law, Leviticus, had strong words to say about drinking blood and eating flesh. Right? And so this would have been incredibly kind of out of the box for them at that point. And in some sense, it is the same for us. Right? In our world today, kind of Hollywood is very, very captured by vampires. Right? Vampires are everywhere. They're on TV, they're in movies, and there's a very kind of a popular theme as it is now. And so now in today's world, if you talk about eating flesh and drinking blood, that's what a lot of people are going to think about. Kind of the monsters of popular television now. Well, what's going on? What is Jesus meaning? Well, obviously he's not meaning a literal thing here. Jesus isn't talking literally. Nor is he actually talking sacramentally. Sometimes we automatically go right to the Eucharist. Well, he's talking about the bread and the wine at church. Not really, because that hadn't been established yet. Jesus is talking a little bit more spiritually. He's talking about how his sacrifice on the cross, how we're supposed to take that deep into our life and allow his presence to feed us and to nourish us. When Jesus uses flesh and blood, he's not talking of physical substance. He's talking about the act by which he will sacrifice himself on the cross and the meaning of that and the importance of that. It's about his sacrifice, of which we must approach and accept and take into our lives. In our prayer book, in the Book of Common Prayer, there's this fabulous prayer, the Collect, where it says about the Holy Scriptures that we read, mark, learn, and inwardly digest them. Jesus here is kind of saying the same thing, that we inwardly digest his sacrifice into our lives. Why? Because it produces life. It produces life in us. Unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man, and the Son of Man is Jesus' favorite kind of terminology for himself, so unless you eat the flesh of the Messiah of Jesus and drink his blood, you have no life in you. The word life in Greek is the word zoe. It means the abundant, the true, the deep life. Life as it is lived, not just in the body, but in the center of your spirit. Saint Irenaeus, this kind of old church guy, way back in the day, said, the glory of God is man fully alive. Right? It's us living that deep, soul-filled life that God intends for us. Because there's a big difference between going through the motions and feeling alive, isn't there? Just like there's a big difference between eating a meal and feeling satisfied. You can eat something, but not feel full, not feel satisfied. You can drink something and not feel that your thirst is quenched. So too, you can have life and feel that you're not living to the fullness extent that you can. And we express this, don't we? People say things like, there's got to be more to life than this. Or some people say, I feel like I'm missing something. It's talking about the life that we are created to have, that deep inner life and vitality that Jesus can give us. Charles Spurgeon once said that some drink until they are drenched with earthly pleasures. Others drink until they are inflated with their own self-righteousness, their own greatness. But let their souls drink of these draughts until they come to the dregs. They will never be satisfied. Why? Because all those things, they touch the physical life. They never touch the truth of who we are. And all the physical things that we can amass for ourselves never satisfy that place which is untouched by physical things. All the physical pleasures of food and drink, sight and smell, and all these experiences can't heal or put together or satisfy that which remains beyond our physicality, that which is internal to us, internal to our vitality and spiritual health. Today, you can make your body look great by all sorts of clothes and makeup and surgeries and all this kind of stuff. You can do that. But you can't actually, you're not going to be able to beautify what's inside. You can purchase all the wants and desires, but you can never purchase that will satisfy. Because as the true part of who we are is our inward selves,